afternoon all. My name is Tom Lawless. I'm a healer and a dowser. I also teach workshops and I love doing conferences and things like that, which are great fun. A bit like a conscious conversation really sometimes. I do videos on YouTube, which you can probably see on my on my channel, about basically the world vibration which I have dowsed, causing to what I call is a geomagnetic line system, where you've got these main currents of energies that go across the earth, and where they cross they create different vortices of energies, therefore providing the energy that we need to live, the prana that we consume in one form or another. I just need to check to make sure that is recording. So it is. And so I just basically so I've been dowsing this sort of energy and testing how it's been going around the world and everything, and then I'm getting closer to understanding earthquakes and stuff like that, and I've been looking at the sun now for can't remember really how many years, probably near on sort of 10 years really. I started writing about this subject about 10 years ago, and the thing that actually interested me was the connection between the activity in the sun and human activity, human behaviour. I learnt, as I say, I'm a healer, and this is actually a healing blog. So before I go wandering off into the GMLS, let me get back to the healing aspect of it all. As I say, I'm a healer. I work with energies. I work in. I see people's auras. I see auras around plants and other things, and it helps. But I work with energy, and I work inside people's auras, as it were. I think the auras, an aura of someone is your real spirit. It's not the body. Your body is just an envelope that helps to capture that reality in the physical world, and within your aura is stored all the information about you, physically, mentally, spiritually, and you can even look into into your past lives and karma and stuff like that. I started this near on 20 years ago. My first actual healing was sort of more than that, but I started actually sort of 16, 17, 18 when I was in the fruit and veg market, and but I was introduced to a gentleman called Colin Bloy, who started Fountain International, an Englishman who had an illustrious career in various things. He was a very interesting man, and he was a really big dowser and also a very big healer in Spain. And I've sort of taken on the baton here in France. I'm just on the other side of the Pyrenees. I'm here in my garden, which will be starting this summer, holding workshops in various arts, not just in what I do, but in workshops in various other things. I learnt off him a healing technique which works on archetypes, where everything has its original form, and you can find those original forms in the aura of a person. So I've gradually developed my version, as it were, of Colin's healing, but I do mix in a little bit of Reiki and stuff like that, although I've never actually learnt it. But I teach Reiki masters how to differentiate between different types of energy, different frequencies within the energies. And that moment there, you can look at a cancer, you can look at the frequency of a cancer, and at some point you can you follow the frequency, you see the frequency of the person, you kind of go, okay, so you can start seeing where the frequencies are actually going out of sync. And then you have to obviously go through into so I do the physical side of healing, and then I do spirit, emotions, and sort of not necessarily traumas, but serious episodes in your life, and that can be anything from a birth giving birth to a child as much as the death of your parent, one at a time. I've started this blog because I've actually started to get quite a bit of information accumulating around healing that is falling into rhythms of the natural system, of the GMLS, how the sun actually works, how the earth actually works, how all the planets work together. It's very difficult, obviously, to explain that in one sole video. That's why there's many people across the world at the moment explaining lots of things about the sun, about the earth, about humans and everything like that. It's fantastic. It's a great time to be alive. Anyway, so I do this healing. I do it 2 days a week where I've got appointments. It usually takes about an hour to do one healing. I usually see between 16 and 20 people in that 2 day period. I also have a day on Thursdays where people can turn up where they don't have without an appointment. It's mainly for things like bad backs, where I live in a rural area, so I get a lot of farmers come to see me about their backs and about their arthritis and stuff like that. And so there's a quotidian, there's a regular daily work that needs to be done, rather than the in-depth stuff that I do through the appointments. And I just wanted to convey those sort of rhythms and those coincidences that I'm starting to come across so blatantly within my work, that I thought it'd be good for everybody to hear from my side, so then hopefully we can hear from other people's sides in the healing worlds, and maybe we can start understanding that connection that we do have together, and the rhythms of this line of work that we do. So first things first, just to give you an idea, when I'm looking at the thyroid glands of a person, mainly women, it's got to be said, because in the male side of things, it's more the pituitary gland, which is approximately around about there, but it's in connection with the thyroid. But the thyroid is mainly a feminine gland, and it gives the thyroid keeps all the rhythms in your life, and we have a rhythm of 9 months, 18 months, 3 years, 6 years, 12 years, 24 years, and then we just repeat them. In the first 24 years you get, that's your understanding of who you are, what you like and everything like that. Between 24 and 48, it's putting all that understanding into place, doing that job because you learnt that at school, because you enjoyed that as a kid, things like that. And then from 48 to 72, it's the installation of your own personal sagesse, your own wisdom. So basically you can say to someone, I understood that, I did that in my life, and that was the result. If I did that, maybe that was the result, but don't judge me because I did that, and that I can't change. So, but you can take my life apart and say how I may have done it better, which is great, but don't have a go at me, because I'm just trying to live like everybody else, you know what I mean? So don't have a go at anybody else, but you can use other people's lives to help you understand your own life as well. And this is why communication is such a good thing, so we should really get into that side. So what I've noticed in the thyroid, the 9-month rhythm, is because it does not exceed a 1 solar year. In the last 3 months before the end of the solar year, or before the person's solar year. So basically, if you're born in December, it's going to start in September. If you're born in May, it's going to start in January or February, I can't work it out. In January, it's always 3 months before your birthday. So it's a good time to reflect with yourself, to close off the things from the last year, and to start saying to the universe. And when I say speak to the universe, it's not a case of through your thoughts. It's a case of actually sitting there, being at peace with yourself and saying, I would like to go to the moon next year. Yeah. Maybe the universe is just going to turn around to you and say that you can't go to the moon. I'm sorry about that. I haven't got a rocket at the moment. You're just going to have to be content with a parachute jump in May. It's all part of a negotiation thing. So, and I've noticed these rhythms, blatantly through my course of my work. To give you an example, I ask people their date of birth and what the problem is before we start. I don't ask them that when I take the appointments, but I ask them when they're sitting in the chair in front of me. And I have noticed that, let's say 3 weeks ago, I had Capricorns and a few Sagittarius and a little bit of Aquarius. I have the word in French, sorry. Aquarius, and then 2 weeks ago I had Aquarius and Pisces, and now I'm starting to get, this week I've started to go through the Taurus and the what do you call it, Billy, Aries. Thank you. Aries, and so and when I talk about the, that's mainly the people I have, it's 70% of the people I see. And when you've got 12 signs, 70% of the 12 signs, the possibilities, the ratios, I'm not a statistician, but it's clear that there is a certain rhythm as well that goes a lot shorter, and I know I can look at smaller rhythms all the time, but they're not so important when you're doing sort of healing. Only when you start going really into depth with people who want to go and investigate their spirit a lot further. And I've noticed as well that when the sun is a little bit active, there's certain illnesses that come around. It depends on the activity as well of the sun, and also the state of the person. So it's not 100%, that's for sure. But we're looking at 65-70%. I'm gradually accumulating the information from my side, and I'm hopefully going to come out with some nice stats in the next sort of 2 or 3 months. But you can tell that people get neck problems, cervical problems, headaches, problems with eyes. There's real seasons to illnesses. It's very strange, but it's not actually strange, because that's how the system actually works. So actually, it's pretty logical, really, and that's the best thing about healing. It is logical, and you don't have to, go running around the room banging a drum. It should be a lot more simpler than that, I think. But anyway, that's my own personal choice of how I do healing. Everyone, you do what you like, mate. We're all here, we're all responsible for ourselves. But I've noticed that when also that there's like coronal holes, you tend to get a little bit more psoriasis or eczema or skin diseases, which come from within rather than without. Moles and stuff like that, a little bit different. They will be much more associated with sort of solar flares, for example. And hopefully I will gradually start connecting this information together and I will be doing a weekly blog, a healing weekly blog, basically going through what's been going on in my work for the past week and seeing if there's any sort of connections with other people. This is just like an introduction to just sort of say this, to help you understand, when I'm doing the news in the future and I start talking about the sun, and it's very much point to point, that you'll have an understanding into, where I'm coming from. So this is another thing. We had the earthquake 10 days ago, the earthquake in Chile, the 8.2, which is a perfect connection where we had the coronal massive ejection from a CME from a sunspot coming to us, and at the same time the coronal hole faced up onto us as well as the solar flare was hitting the Earth. And this shot up the vibration of the Earth incredibly, like a bell. And it created the 8.2 down in Chile, which is considered to be the root chakra in the GMLS system, but also in other systems. And I'm completely in accordance with that. And that created fundamental situations with humans, a real duality situation, and I've talked about it in my other videos about the Ukraine being developed into a Russia against the United States. And as that solar flare and that earthquake went off, there was all this people taking over certain, town halls and stuff like that, and the real tension is Russia going to go into Ukraine and everything like that. I've been saying don't worry about it, because straight after that we dropped into a positive corona hole, which gave us a constant which is positive, which calmed the up out of them. We're not going to get to a war, and even they, you see it, the birds, they know as well, man. They know when the calm's there and they've got to be quiet, and we've got to do the same. We've got to get into the rhythm of things. We've got to find out our own personal rhythm, so we personally can be involved in these rhythms. And then when you get involved in it personally, you'll get involved in it collectively. So so that's what I'm trying to explain. And in these blogs. And another thing, one more thing, and then I'll let you go. Well, because I could chew the ear off a donkey, I tell you. One more thing. When we had that earthquake, the 8.2, which was on, I think it was on a Saturday morning or Friday night, something like that, Saturday night. The following week, when I was looking at people and doing their healing, not only I was doing healing in Agde that week, and it was so obvious that there'd been an election, because I'm in the countryside here. We don't really get that much in the way of elections, and well, obviously we did here in France, but I don't listen to the news and stuff like that, so I don't, I don't watch telly, so I don't really. If I want to watch something, I watch something on YouTube or something like that. But it was so clear that the energy in the town just went like that during, after the election. But because of the sounding of this earthquake and the sounding of the vibration from the sun, it was like people's aura had also taken a bah, like it was ringing as well, like a bell, because there was so many more colours. It was there was a lot more vibrancy about it. Okay, I'd given a workshop at the weekend about auras and chakras, so I spent the weekend teaching people how to see them and stuff like that. And I can imagine that also had an effect on me for the week. But it was something a little bit more, and that's the sort of thing I'm going to be looking into from my side, to try and connect the prana that comes from the universe, goes through the sun, comes to the earth, and then comes through the earth to us. So we don't connect to the universe through there, we connect through the earth. She is our boat at the moment, and no one's going nowhere, so we might as well just get on with it and get on together. So this is the sort of things that I'm going to be looking into in my blog. I would be very interested to hear from other healers and etc., or people who work in that area there. You can email me, or you can visit my website, which will be back up and running the following week, because I will have the program back. And you can give us a contact, you can give us a report and stuff like that. I'll be very interested to hear from you. But this will be a regular thing on the Friday. It will last, should be only around about sort of 10 minutes long. If you've got extra information that you want to put into this, I'll be glad to hear from you. I have got other videos. I'm also doing another thing which I found really interesting, or quite interesting. Just to sort of, I do meditation with lawn mowing. Right, I am the lawnmower man. I think, you know what I mean. It's very worrying, but it's like simple geomancy, Geomancy. If you want to look it up. You create an energy and then you release the energy. You create the energy, you release the energy, or you create. Well, it's not really a stockage, but you increase the flow of the energy in a certain place. So you don't actually increase the energy, but if you make it longer, obviously you're stocking it. Yeah? Although you're not actually holding it in one place. It's just like a river that meanders is going to contain a lot more water than a river that goes straight. If they're the same width and same depth and all of that. Yeah. Anyway, so you go and see that. It's a bit of fun. It's a great laugh. and I think everybody can get involved, and that's the sort of thing that we need to do. That sort of thing we really need to do to sort of raise consciousness. It's not a case of asking everyone to become Buddha. It's asking us to become Buddha, and I think that's pretty important. So I'm going to be doing this blog. I've also got the I also have the GMLS news once a week on solar activity, earthquakes, and stuff like that. I won't be going too much into it. If you really want that sort of thing, you should really go down to Suspicious Observers blog or Dutch Sense as well. Dutch Sense is very good. But just to get some general information, I tend to sort of scoot over the tops and pick up some serious bites in between. So I hope you enjoy. If you do enjoy, please subscribe. It makes it a lot easier for my side of things to know who's offering things, which is quite good. All right. In the meantime, take it easy. Do enjoy. Love from me to you and your crew.